tell people stories about how me and my dad used to go to Schwegmann's, and he'd go to the bar and get him a beer and drink a draft beer walking around grocery shopping. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Are you serious? I'm like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Hey there, como se va and que pasa? I'm your host, Jay Bodwin, and welcome to In the Pocket with Jay Bo. Today, our episode features the epitome of a true West Banker from New Orleans. He is all about sharing stories from back in the day and talking about our glory days growing up in the greater New Orleans area. Again, more specifically, the West Bank suburban region of New Orleans. He was adopted by J.C. and Ruby Cotten and is an only child. He went to Immaculate Conception Elementary School in Marrero, Louisiana, Marrero, and graduated in 1980 from Archbishop Shaw High School, also in Marrero. He has worked in the oil field services business for over 30 years. He is a father of JC, 26, and Kyle, 21, from his first wife, and he is now married to the beautiful Carrie. He is a bird enthusiast, and his hobbies are deer hunting and fishing. Southeast Louisiana, imagine that. I believe he played softball till he was about 40. I'm talking about today's guest, Mr. Troy Gerard Cotten. We are honored to have him as our guest today. So with that, welcome to In the Pocket, Big Troy.
Thank you there, Jay. Glad to be here. Talk about the WANK.
All right, you know it. So how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Just living the life. All right.
Man, we appreciate you being here. This podcast is all about talking to entertainers and, as Sly Stone said, everyday people. Well, my friend, for people that you know and that will know you, you are definitely everyday people and most definitely entertaining. Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is sponsored by the Bayou Junction Band, one of Greater Houston area's up-and-coming and exciting bands. You don't want to miss them, growing in popularity in the region. They also happen to be one of Troy Cotton's favorite bands.
You got that right.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about growing up on the West Bank region of the Crescent City, back around from about the mid-'70s to about the early mid-'80s. But to get things going, Troy, as a custom we have here on In Pocket with J Bo, is we like to ask a few icebreaker type of questions.
That's fine.
All right. As the late, great Jackie Gleason would say, and away we go. All right. Bang, zoom. All right. Question number one. What is your favorite vacation spot and why?
Man, I've been around the world. Pretty much, I would say the beach in Florida.
Florida beaches.
Any beach, except Grand Isle.
Well, that ain't in Florida. That's the island, man.
Lower Jefferson Parish.
There you go. Next question. What is your favorite month of the year? I get some crazy ones on this one, man.
July, because that's my birthday. So
July. What's your birthday?
July 26th.
26th. Okay, I'm the 3rd, so you're not that far behind me. You got me in years, though.
Oh, yeah, like 4 or 5. Huh? That's it. You're not
all
too
right.
far.
My third question. I put a little thought into this one. What did you like best about going to Archbishop Shaw High School?
Man, I guess the camaraderie with all the guys.
Sure.
I went to parochial school all my life and with boys and girls. Then I get there and it's just guys and from different parts of the West Bank. And man, I just met so many good friends that I'm still friends with to this day. And, I always say that was the best 4 years of my life. I really, really enjoyed my Shaw years. And like I said, I still have friends today that we graduate, that we talk weekly.
Absolutely. Case in point right here. We didn't graduate same year, but we're still friends to this day. A long time.
That.
And I have to agree with you there, guys. I graduated with years before and after. Man, we're still compadres. We may not talk for a while sometimes, but it's like, yes, it's like no time has passed whenever we get together. Like when we recently saw Paul Lehman, just great to see Paul, man. Next question. Tell us something about you that many of your friends might be surprised to hear?
Well, most of my friends know that I'm a Purple Martin enthusiast and that I enjoy, you know, doing raising. Well, basically, I don't raise them; they show up, and
Right.
I just basically watch them. But most of my friends know that,
Mhm.
and other than that, probably because I don't hardly ever drink anymore. That would
Oh,
surprise.
that could curve some things there.
Yeah, I used to drink like a fish back in the day, and I just don't have the urge to do it these days.
Right, right.
So
Well, we could tell a lot of stories about that, but that's another podcast.
that's 2 or 3 podcasts.
All right. Last question here. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with someone, it could be anybody, family member, sports figure, historical figure, anyone, and they would want to talk back to you, who would it be?
Man, I'd have to say my dad.
Your dad.
My dad died when I was 21 years old. He was 52. He died very, very young. And,
Okay.
he was more of a hunting and fishing kind of guy. And, he bought me, when the Saints moved to the Superdome, he bought me season tickets. He says, I'm going to get you season tickets. And
Right.
I had them from 75 to about 2000, I guess.
Okay.
And he never went to one game with me.
Mm.
But he every time I came back, knowing the Saints lost, he'd be in his recliner saying, "They won again, huh, boy," which he knew they lost. But man, my dad was with me being adopted, and man, he taught me how to hunt and fish, and it, just spending 21 years with a parent, it's just
Right.
it wasn't
Right.
long enough.
Well, I know you talk glowingly about your parents, and I don't think I may have met your mom, but I don't know if I met you. I don't think I definitely didn't meet your dad.
Right, right.
And is JC and Miss Ruby they from New Orleans area, Troy? Or
My dad was from a little town north of Alexandria called Olla, Louisiana. He grew
okay,
up there. He was born like in 1930, no, 1940. My mom was born in 38. My mom was from Fort Doche, Louisiana, which is a little north of Baton Rouge. And they all wound it up on the West Bank in Harvey, and they met down there. And my mom couldn't have kids, so they went through a lawyer. And this woman in Oklahoma got pregnant at 21, and her parents sent her down to New Orleans to have me. I was born at West Jeff. They picked the lawyer went picked me up at the hospital and brought me to the K&B in front of West Jeff, and that's where my parents first laid eyes upon me.
and it
And
was
I got
over after
pictures.
that.
Yep, I got pictures of them just bawling their eyes out because they finally got their baby. I
That's
always
right.
I always climbed with my cousins. I was a purple light special at K&B. They found me on aisle 2.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what did your father do for a living?
He when I was young, he worked in the oil field. He worked for a casing crew, and as I got older, he got a job. He had gotten hurt offshore, broke his arm, and he got out of the oil field. I want to say when I was probably around maybe third, nope, maybe fifth grade, I guess. And he went to work for American Aquatic Supply on 4th Street, Barataria and 4th Street. And
Okay.
he worked there to the day he died. As a matter of fact, that's where he died at work. But he was a hard worker. I want to say to this day, I've never shook a man's hands in all my life, and I've shaken a lot of hands that is as calloused as his, as rough
Really?
as his. Never to this day.
Yeah.
Uh, my mom basically, of course, I was a spoiled brat, and at every game you could imagine, every GI Joe, they spoiled me. My mom, when I went to Shaw, she went to work to help pay for my tuition, and then she went to work at West Jeff Hospital as a
Okay.
switchboard operator, and just so I could have my own TV in my room,
Right.
And she also used to make these jelly rolls that people used to come from everywhere on the West Bank to come buy from our house. It's crazy. I grew up right behind Shaw High School off of Barataria
Oh,
on Warwick Drive.
that's true. Down by the Calais over there. That's
Right,
right. That's right. I
about
forgot about that.
about 6 or 7 houses down from the Calais.
From Tony and Mr. Phil and Miss Tony. Yep.
Yep.
Great people.
Me and Mark were good friends.
Mark Calais. Yep. Yep. Good deal. So your mom worked at West Jeff Hospital
Yeah.
when you were growing up? Okay. What year did your father pass away?
That was 1982. I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It was unexpected or
Oh yeah, he died of a massive heart attack.
oh,
Just
man. How old was he, Troy?
52. And
Mm,
people
man.
would ask, this is how stupid I was. People would ask me, "Hey man, Troy, how old was your dad?" And I'm like, "Oh, he was old." Well, how old was he? 52. Oh,
Yeah.
that's not old. I'm like, the hell it ain't. And now that I'm 63,
Yeah, it's not that old.
it's not that old.
Without a doubt. So let's talk about a little bit. And that was a great answer, man. Having a conversation with your father, and I know you've accomplished some good things. You got good children. Carrie's a wonderful lady. Met her a few times, and you live what 3 minutes from me, so
Right.
it's
Far.
great to see you in the
Yeah.
Archbishop Shaw alumni contingent we have here in the greater Houston area with Jimmy Hintz and Mike Stahl, Big Bad Mike Stahl, and who else we got over here, Troy? We got
They had Spencer
Daryl
Turpin,
Centani, Big Daryl.
Daryl, and then we just lost one, Goose, Robert Guillory.
Yeah, Robert Guillory, man.
Poor fella, man. He was a
Yeah,
good.
that was a shame. Yep.
That was too young, man. Too young.
Yep. But it's cool that we got a handful of guys that live out here now, and like I said, Daryl Centeni, Big Jimmy Hintz, and Big Bad Mike Stahl, and all those guys, and we get to see each other every now and then and talk about the old days. So that's just great stuff.
Exactly.
So let's talk about where you grew up at a little bit. So tell me how things were as a kid, and I know you grew up in that area right behind Archbishop Shaw. So just tell me about how things were as a kid. I'm sure y'all rode bikes and all that on
Oh,
Warwick. It's Warwick Drive, I think, is what it is.
yeah,
Or
Warwick, and on the back side of the road was Evans Drive,
that's
and
right. That's right.
the front of the neighborhood, dude, they had a dairy. It was called Norwood Dairy, and I could remember watching cartoons in the morning. My parents were still sleeping, and I would get up to watch cartoons, and I'd get an inkling for chocolate milk. I'd be in my pajamas, get on my bike with 75 cents or less, 50 cents, who knows how much it was back then for a half a gallon.
Right.
But get on my bike and ride over there, and the guy would give me the chocolate milk right off the line.
How
And
about
I'd
that?
give him, I know he pocketed the cash, but I'd be riding back home with that glass bottle, a half gallon, just ride my bike, and I'd get my mom be like, "Hey boy, where you get that chocolate milk?" I rode my bike up to the dairy. But
The Conics, that's right.
the Connick
They have that house
house
there.
right by the dairy, and they related to Harry Connick Jr., Mr. Paul Connick. That his brother was Harry Connick.
At the DA
Yeah,
back when we were
yeah,
kids.
right, right. And then his wife taught me fourth grade at Immaculate Conception.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, growing up in the neighborhood, we had a lot of kids that went to Catholic school, but then we also had the public school kids.
Right.
And I was an equal opportunity friend. I played with public school kids and Catholic school kids, and we pretty much got along. We had some troublemakers in the neighborhood. We never really got into too many fights. Played a lot of ball. We had a middle street. Played a lot of ball with tennis. Well, we used to play with a hard ball until I put one through the neighbor's window, and everybody ran, but I stayed there. And the old guy comes out, and he knew me since I've been a little kid,
Okay.
and he was like, "Where's your friends?" I said, "Oh, they all ran off when the ball went through your window." Well, he says, I appreciate you staying and owning up to it. I guess I was about 11. And he says, "Don't worry about it. I'll fix it." I said, I'll work it off. I'll pay for it somehow. And he says, "No, sir." He says, "Just because you stayed here, don't worry about it." And then that's when we switched to tennis balls. But growing up in the neighborhood was cool. A lot of good people. I used to ride my bike around that subdivision so much. I knew everybody in that subdivision who lived in what house. I didn't know all their names because some of them didn't have kids, but if you had kids, I knew their names.
Right, right. Well, I grew up on Wiegand Drive in Bridge City,
Mm,
and almost the same kind of setup with the street structure. There were two streets, then a block, two streets, another block, and all we did was ride our bikes all the time, all the time.
yeah.
And I spent a lot of
About
time at my
fire.
grandmother's house on Durbany Street in Old Gretna,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to go. You were talking about going to the dairy, and we used to. If you remember back in the day, and we're gonna talk about some back in the day stories. But if you remember, you could return the soft drink bottles and get a nickel, for
Yep.
the soft drink bottles. Well,
Yep.
right across the street on the 500 block of Durbany Street was Macalusa's bar.
Right.
So need I say more? I would go in there, and my grandmother and my grandfather had a shotgun house on Durbany Street, and they
Uh-huh.
had a swing on the front porch. And little Jay, go take these 6 bottles and go get Mr. Mac to give you, 30 cents or whatever for the
Yeah.
bottles. 30 cents. And
30.
11 years old, walking in the bar with the empty Barks bottles with
Yeah.
the little carton container. And, uh, and man, if I was in there more than 10 minutes, my grandmother would be screaming from the porch, "Hey, little Jay!" And this is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. These guys are toasted, playing pool,
Yeah.
drinking, and all. Come on, boy, come over here, come have a sip of this beer, boy.
Oh, of
And
course.
then to hear my grandma, all right, Miss Mary's calling you. You got to go. Same kind of story, man.
Yeah.
Just
Back
different
in the
different
day, man.
place 2 miles away.
Yeah. Back in the day, everybody took a sip of beer.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, these guys are in there at, like I said, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they are sloshed. Then I would be at my other grandfather's house, who lived on Maple Street in Harvey, right by West Jeff High School.
Right.
And he would be at Schwegmann's at the bar at Schwegmann's, the grocery store. So need I say more?
I tell people stories about how me and my dad used to go to Swagman's and he'd go to the bar and get him a beer and drink a draft beer walking around grocery shopping. And they're
Yeah,
like, "What?
yeah,
Are you serious?" I'm like,
yeah.
"Hell yeah.
Oh, what's the term? What's the term? Troy? A highball.
A highball."
He'd have
Yeah.
a highball.
Yeah. That's funny.
We're gonna get back to some of that. So, talk to me about your teen years as you were going to be a teenager and ended up going to the school, which is 2 minutes from your house, a minute or
Right.
two from your house. So, talk to me about that a little bit.
Man, my teenage years, I got in. We used to go to my uncle that owned a log cabin on 4th Street, Norman
Mm.
Chesson. Norman Chesson, him and my dad were real tight, and he had a camp back at Lafitte and Bayou Dogri, and
Okay.
it was about a 45-minute boat ride if you
Yep.
had the fast boat, about a 45-minute boat ride to get to the camp. Well, we used to hang out at that camp all the time, every weekend, and we used to go duck hunting, catch reds and specks, and have crab traps out, go trawling.
Yep.
Man, it was such glorious time, and a guy asked me the other day, or it might have been you, man, how did you first get into these purple martins?
That was me. Yeah, that was me.
We had the original camp was just on some shells on a point, and we had a big hurricane came in and had about 4 or 5 foot of water in the camp, and the camp shifted off the foundation. So my uncle just put a bulldozer on a barge. We stripped the camp, everything we wanted out of there.
Hmm.
We stripped it, stored it, got that bulldozer, pushed the whole camp out in a marsh and set it on fire.
Yep, I
And then
believe it.
his two brother-in-laws were carpenters, all in pilings, which are still there to this day. Me, my daddy, and my cousins sunk all in them pilings. And the camp was about 6 foot off the ground. And they built this camp, and they put up 4 little bird houses on each end. And I had no idea back then what a purple martin was.
Right,
And
right.
my aunt, we didn't know what it was. And she's like, "Well, when I get home, I'm going to look up in the encyclopedia." And sure enough, she came back and she says, "Yep, they purple martins." And I was amazed by them when I was like, 13. I used to, in the evenings, they feed in the air. I mean, they just eat flying insects.
Right.
And I used to just lay on the wharf, just watching them fly above me. I liked them way back then, and then my first mother-in-law got me started, and it's out of control now. But but going to the camp was fun, and me and my dad. My dad didn't go to hardly any sports events that I went in, and nothing like that. But when we hunted and fished, deer hunted a lot up on our property up in North Louisiana. But I didn't start dating. I think my freshman year, my first time I went on a date.
Well, we had
And
those dances and all that back then.
yeah, I went out with this girl from Merritt from my freshman year, no, my sophomore year to my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we broke up, and that was about it with that,
Yeah.
But like I said, my 4 years at Shaw was just fantastic. Just meeting all kind of new people and becoming friends with so many other guys.
Well, you were there during the you were a freshman during the Forcade years, John Forcade and Keith and him, right? Steve
Yeah,
Mott.
4K was a junior when I was a freshman,
Okay.
and I became good friends with Mott. He hung
Big
out with my
Steve.
he hung out with my friend Scott Bruyette down the street,
Yep.
and
Scott Bree. Yep.
and
I know those names.
I hope a game warden ain't gonna watch this, but we went rabbit hunting one day, killed over 100 rabbits. Me, him, and Mott, all three of us. And then we were like, man, we got to clean these suckers.
Yeah.
And
Man, I got to
rabbits
tell
for
you,
a long time.
the our first week at Shaw when we were freshmen, and John Forcade had already graduated, but Keith was still there. Keith was a monster, man. That's one of the baddest dudes I've ever met. Mike Stahl and I used to work out at the same gym with him for a little while when we were in our mid-20s. But Steve Mott came walking on the hallway. And it was me. I don't even remember who was with me. It was me and a couple other freshmen. Big Steve, them white short shirts we had. Big
Yeah.
Steve's coming. Boom, boom. We're like, damn.
Well, I don't know if you remember this. After school one day, they were at track practice, and I was there with the baseball team. And all of a sudden, hardly no vehicles went to the foot in the back, hardly ever.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's a truck heading back there, and I'm like, dude, what happened? What's going on? Oh man, Hugh Smith just threw a shot put and hit Mott in the head.
Oh, my.
He was fine, dude. They brought him to the hospital. He was fine.
Yeah.
Probably knocked some sense into him. But
Big Steve.
I'll
And
never.
who else? Jeff Rishu.
Yep,
Big
Big Jeff,
Jeff.
Jimmy Bertrand,
Yep. Good people, man. All good
Sidney
people, man.
Goodrow.
Big Sid. Yep. Sid Goodrow. Big Sid.
Yeah.
Who else was it? Jay Cucci.
Jay graduated with me. Cucci,
Yeah.
Aguilar, quarterback, Clint Coulon.
Glenn was an awesome quarterback. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Glenn was an awesome quarterback.
Yeah.
I was buddies with his brother Kevin for a long time. Glenn, they had a good your senior year, man. We had a good team that year.
They won district, and then they won their first two playoff games 7-6, 7-6. They
Right.
went to I think the week before they lost out. They went to East St. John.
East St. John, Timmy Bird.
Bird and Lewis Lips.
Yep, Timmy Bird. Man, Lewis Lips, man, that dude was badass. He
He
played for the Steelers.
He career with the Saints.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even think he made a whole season. But anyway, yeah, them dudes, they really played. I forgot who they lost to the following week, but they had a good team that year. They won district against.
I think they might have lost to Errett. I think they might have lost to John Errett, but I don't remember.
I have to ask.
It might have been John Errett, but I'm not sure. But yeah, man, those times at Archbishop Shaw, and let's talk about and we'd be remiss if we don't bring him up, man. Coach Ernie Chess on. We got to talk about that man. Coach it's a great day to be alive, gentlemen.
I tell you what, that guy saved me from getting kicked out of Shaw my senior year. I only had about a month left in school. And, I never got in hardly. I got like in 2 fights at Shaw the whole time I was there.
Right.
Didn't really get in trouble for that. The most worst things I was doing was like late getting to class or being a class clown,
Right.
And
I know that one.
I didn't like to study, and we had an English test on the book Pride and Prejudice. Well, I got the book and I opened it up and I read the preface to the book, and I'm like, aristocrats, 17. What I said, I ain't reading this crap. and I never read the book. So vocabulary test, honors class was first period. I had Miss Toop's second period.
Okay.
So she was giving us the same vocabulary test that she would give honors.
Okay.
Well, she smoker. So she would go out of class and hurry up and smoke a cigarette. Well, I
Hmm.
started grabbing, you knew it was honors. It didn't matter whose test you took out of the
Right.
pile, but I would take it and all right, here's all the multiple choice. And I'd go A, B, D, C, B, B, B. And I did that for a couple of months. And all of a sudden she's like, hey, I just want to say everybody has just been doing fantastic on our vocabulary test. And all of these idiots look at me, and I'm like, don't be looking at me. So it's time for that test on that book. Well, I didn't read it. I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a copy of that test, and I'm going to call one of these honors people and get the answers from them.
Right.
Well, that day, old Tommy Cartazzo had Miss Toops outside, and they were talking, and I'm like, come on, dude, hurry up. Just let her go, let her go. So I knew the test was in this manila envelope, and I couldn't do it. So finally she walks away. Well, by that time, third period done walked in. There was about half a third period already in there. So I open it up, I take it, I put it in my books, I shut it, and I go to art class. Well, I'm in art class, and about, I guess, 25 minutes later, there's a knock at the door, and it's this dude named Corky Holly. He
Okay.
says, yeah, I need to see Troy Cotton. I said, yeah, man, what's up? He's like, hey, I need a copy of that test. I said, man, what you talking about? I need a copy of that test. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I saw you take it. I need a copy. So I gave it to two people that were real close friends with me. I gave it to Corky. All I know was 2 days later, because the test was like 3 or 4 days down the line. I go to
Uh-huh.
K&B to get my mama's medicine, and there's all of these seniors making copies of this test at the copy machine at K&B. I'm like, I am so busted, and somebody's gonna
You're
rat
going
me.
down, baby.
So so then there were even people, the idiots were going in the library at Shaw freaking making copies. Then the day of the test, Miss Kemp or Miss Hemp or Miss Kemp,
I'm
we
about to take
caught
my
like
drink.
Mike Grosh and all with the test. Being smart that I was, I'm like, I'm just gonna like fail this test bad. So I made like a 28 on the test. So I'm like, yeah, they'll never figure that it's me because I made a 28. If I had the test, I'd have probably made 100, right?
You had a little strategy going, man.
Right. Well, that strategy backfired because somebody opened it. They were calling people to the office like 15 to 20 people at a time because all their answers matched identically. Well, my answers didn't match with nobody because I just was like, putting
Right.
bull crap down. So anyway, that morning I'm in Miss Mars' class, typing class, just typing
Yep.
away. And then they called Kenny McKeever to the office. And then about 20 minutes later, boom, Troy Cotton come to the office. And I hit my typewriter like this. And everybody in the typing class quit typing
Mm.
because they knew they were calling me. And
Right.
Chasson, getting back to Chasson, I walked in. He used to call me Moose. Sit down, Moose. I said, what's up, coach? He says, Cotton, look at me. I know you took the test. I said, coach, what are you talking
That
about?
was Coach Ernie Chesson, right?
Yep. He says, Cotton, I'm telling you, I know you
You
took
took
the
the
test.
test.
Coach, I'll be honest with you. Yes, I did. He says, yep. He says, some people ratted out on you. I'm like, oh, I'm sure I know who it is.
Right.
So, sure enough, I went from Chasson to Dennis Coulon, the assistant principal,
Mm-hmm.
to Father Jerry Marshall.
Oh yeah.
Father Marshall wanted to kick me out of Shaw.
Okay.
Ernie saved me. Ernie saved me. Ernie says, man, look, this is like the only time in 4 years this guy really did something real bad.
Right.
So they put me on academic probation, and 2 months later, I graduated on stage. And I got to thank Coach Chasson for that because I don't think if it would have been up, and I think Dennis Coulon I was good friends with his nephew, Greg Salino, and he knew that, and I think he went to bat for me too. But Father Marshall wanted to kick me out. But
Yeah. Well,
but
he
yeah.
probably had to take that position. I knew Mr. Coulon, years later. He actually lived down the street from where I did, and just wonderful guy. He kept
Oh yeah.
telling me to call him Dennis, and I'm like, I can't do it, Mr. Coulon. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll feel
Yeah.
weird. And
He was.
he was a cool guy to me. And
We used to call him old red eyes because his eyes were always bloodshot.
oh, really?
Yeah, his eyes were always
Probably
bloodshot.
getting lack of sleep from students like us over there all the
He,
time.
yeah, what would you do with these guys?
Yeah, he always treated us. I thought he was a fair guy. I thought he was a fair dude. He always treated us good. But Coach Ernie, man, that was something else. Ernie was a hell of a ball player when he was young.
Oh,
I
he was.
heard from
Man,
my uncle and several other
uh,
guys. He was a hell of an athlete when he was younger.
so my punishment for that, Chasson says, "Well, Cotton, I can't let you off the hook." I'm like, "Hey," I said, "I understand that, Coach," and I got 2 Saturday work details out of it, which
Yes,
wasn't bad.
indeed. Yep, I've had a couple of those myself, along with
That was my
probably a
first
few of our brothers
ever.
that's gonna be watching this.
That was my first 2 Saturdays ever, man. I thought I did pretty good 2 months before getting graduating. I finally got my Saturdays.
Right. Well, there's one guy we missed when we were talking about all the old ball players. You said Smoke in it. I'm like, Smoke Davis. I thought about Big Paul Davis, man, Big Smoke. Hell of a player. Yeah, I saw Smoke years later at a Saints game, man. He's just awesome dude. The
I
Steel actually he was a security guard at the Superdome,
right. I,
and the
I think I
Steelers
saw
were
the picture.
walking by, and I was talking to Smoke, and I said, Smoke, look at these cats, man. I said, man, these guys don't know you, man. We were cracking up laughing, man.
we
We were rolling, but it was great seeing him.
out in the quarter, and we went to Mises first, and we
Hmm.
were walking to go to Bourbon to go to Pat O's, and
Okay.
this is about Steve Mott's story. And I'm just walking, and John LeBlanc, Chuck Boy, and all that, everybody's acting a fool. And all of a sudden, we on the side of the Royal Sonesta, and this somebody picks me up like I'm a chip, like a toothpick. And I'm like, oh Lord, who got me? Because I knew none of the guys that I was with could pick me up like that.
Right. Right.
And he goes, "What's up, Cotton?" I said, "Steve Mott, what's up?" Well, he had just went to that freshman year, which his freshman year they won a national championship, and he picked me up like I was a toothpick, dude.
Yeah.
He was so bulked up. He was big as Shaw.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, so people that don't know what we're talking about here, Steve Mott, Mott. Steve was a center offensive lineman at Archbishop Shaw. I think he was all state, and he
Yep,
went on to play for Bear Bryant at the University of Alabama, and
yep,
he was a starter there for I think 3 or 4 years, and
yep.
then ended up going to the Detroit Lions and playing center for the Detroit Lions as well. So man, just hell of an accomplished athlete out of our high school. You don't hear his name enough with guys that have done things in football from Shaw, but Steve Mock gets big props. And
Yep.
man, one thing I don't want to forget before we move on talking about some things with you here is talking about those days at Archbishop Shaw is we're going to dedicate this episode to Big Truck Hymel, man. You know, so
Truck was a good dude, man. I I tell you, I know a lot of people, but that dude knew a lot of people. I
that
mean,
dude knows that dude know a
he,
lot of people. And people that don't know, Truck Hymel graduated a year in between Troy and I. He graduated in '81. And he got his nickname from Truck Robinson that used to play for the New Orleans Jazz back in the day. And we're
correct.
gonna talk about that for a little bit too. And but man, just an amazing cat, friend to everybody. He was a athletic trainer for Archbishop Shaw, for LSU, Clemson, Tulane. Just knew a lot of people and just a lot of love from a lot of people. I mean, he passed away a little over a year ago, I think, Troy.
Yep.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. And just an amazing guy. We all miss him tremendously. So I just want to say, shout out to him. This episode is going to be dedicated to him, and we'll make sure to put that on there too.
A good, real quick truck story. When he was at
Please.
LA, I didn't have season tickets back then, and he used to tell me, "Cot, meet me at the locker room door 30 minutes before the team gets there." And he used to let me in that door, and I'd walk through the locker room to the door where the team comes out, hop that little fence, and go in the student section. Did that
Yeah.
many a time. He used to hook me up all the time.
He,
He's a good guy, man.
He let us in the athletic room at LSU one time. I started grabbing cleats and shirts. He's like, "Big dog, put that shit back, man. You can't have all that stuff." I'm like the looters you see on TV, man. I'm grabbing shit left
Right.
and right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grabbed the weightlifting belt. I had it for years, man. It had LSU stenciled on the back of it. That's the one thing I kept. I could have sold that stuff for a lot of money. He's like, "Man, you got to put that shit back, man. Don't take all that shit." But this is for Big Truck, man. We dedicate this to him, and we miss that dude tremendously. And just it was an honor and pleasure for many years for us to be his friend. And he made a big impression on a lot of people. And man, we sure do miss him. But we
Great
keeping
human.
his memory alive and keeping everything good, keeping it real there.
Yep.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back to In the Pocket with J-Bo right after this message. The Bayou Junction Band is a Houston, Texas-based regional cover band. Being entertainers is the heart and soul of their culture. The audience having fun and being entertained is a goal that all of their band members share with a passion. They are a band that is exponentially growing in popularity in the Houston area and in addition have recently performed in Austin, Texas and New Orleans, Louisiana as well. They play a very diverse selection of fun and upbeat tunes including, but not limited to, classic rock, country, blues, zydeco, R&B, Tejano, pop, Motown, etc. Bayou Junction is comprised of 5 amazing musicians hailing from Texas and Louisiana. A fun fact about their band is they might include a harmonica player, guest singer, etc. from time to time. You just never know the spice they might add. Their sets list is ever changing with the goal of connecting with and entertaining audiences of various musical preferences. They bring a positive energy to their shows with hopes that the audience will forget about their everyday challenges and take them to the junction of fun times and good music for all to enjoy. Bayou Junction would love to be considered for your next private party, wedding, anniversary, charity function, fundraiser, or corporate event. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram under the name Bayou Junction Band. Please contact them today at BayouJunction@yahoo.com. That's BayouJunction@yahoo.com.
So let's transition a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your family, Miss Carrie, and the kids and all that. Talk to me a little bit about them.
Met Carrie, want to say about 2011, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And been married for, I think, going on 8 years, 9
Okay.
years probably. I had JC was our firstborn, my first wife. Before JC was born, my first wife miscarried twin boys.
Okay.
So they were about 27, 28 years old right now.
Okay.
And so the good Lord, just it wasn't in the plans, and then as soon as we were able to start trying again, boom, here comes JC. And we went through some hiccups with her the night she was born. She coded, and they brought her back, and thank the good Lord, she's a healthy
Yeah.
human now. Just graduated from Bossier City Community College as a nurse
Nice.
and started her new job last week. Kyle went to Bossier City Community College, got his associate's degree, and basically he's 21 now, and basically all he does is play video games all day and
Plays what?
video games all day,
Nah.
and or not all day. He don't get up until about noon. Then he'll play video games the rest of the day until about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh
And
boy.
I've gotten on his butt to tell him to get a job or something like that. But they live in this little small town of Spring Hill, Louisiana, and
Right.
there's not a lot a lot of businesses there. And he's smart as a whip. He took after his mom. So
Well, sometimes they just got to figure it out, brother.
oh yeah,
I did that with my boys. One of them, my oldest son, he did a lot of video game playing and things like that. But he recently just finished his master's at UNO, his MBA at UNO, and has a great job over at Premier Parking. My oldest son, Casey, and he's doing great. But yeah, the video game thing was a little challenge with him at times.
yeah,
But they just got to, just like we were when we were kids, we just got to figure it out, man. Sometimes it's a little more challenging than others. There's more hurdles, and I think a lot of it is especially I think when we were younger, and we'll start talking about some of this soon, is, we were our own worst enemy a lot of the times,
Oh
with
yeah.
some of the silly decisions, but still the friendships and the parents and the aunts and uncles and the friends' parents were a
Yeah.
big influence on us with helping us, keep on a straight and narrow at times. So I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
they had a couple of your friends' parents that were like that with you as well.
I got a lot of stepmoms, believe me.
Yeah, right on.
I got at least 3 or 4 or 5 stepmoms.
Yeah,
You know,
I haven't
all,
seen her in many years, but Greg Stahl and Mike Stahl's mom, Miss Priscilla, that was next to my mother, that was the closest I had, and wonderful, wonderful, still kicking to this day, man.
wow.
Wonderful, wonderful lady. We call her Aunt Pris, and boy, could she cook too. Whoo! Well, you got two big boys like that in the house,
You bet. You bet cook because you can't afford to feed them through the going out to eat all the time.
Right, exactly, exactly. And their dad, Coach Bubba, Coach
Uh-huh.
Bubba Stahl, I know you know who I'm talking about there. He,
Yeah.
man, amazing guy. So, well, I guess now we got to get into the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about today now. So let's talk about, we both grew up in the West Bank area of New Orleans, but let's talk about this time frame specifically from like the mid 70s when we were just starting to come on our own a little bit and into maybe the early mid 80s kind of time frame. And man, what a great time for us to grow up, I think. Because seeing how the West Bank is and how much it's changed in what, like 40 years now, man, you wouldn't recognize it if you went back in time.
And
And
I hate.
but I got to tell you, and I tell my boys a lot, man, what a great time and a great place to grow up.
It
So
was.
let's
It
talk
was.
about some of that stuff, brother.
I was fortunate. Fortunate to grow up on the West Bank. It's a small community. And it used to take everybody what if you was going to West Wego with the old expressway before they had the elevated expressway, it would take forever. Like if I left Barataria to go to Oakwood, it would take 30 minutes
Oh,
to where now it takes 8 minutes probably,
oh, you
you
do
know?
better going to Fourth Street. You know,
Right, right, right,
yeah,
right. So, just the little things that, I tell people all the time when I was young, the sounds that you would hear growing up there. I'd be at the bus stop and you'd hear a seaplane taking off on the Harvey Canal.
true.
Then you hear the train on 4th Street's bell or the horn, womp womp, and the smell of the sewage ditch behind my house. It was just weird because when after Katrina, we went uh, uh, to check on my house because we still had the house there. We had moved to Houston already, but the house was for sale. And when we went check on it, it was an eerie quiet,
Yeah,
and you all listening to the cars on the expressway, hear them, but it was just an eerie quiet. But
yeah,
uh, just growing up there, man, we were around. The Superdome was right there. The French Quarter was
just
right
got built.
there
Superdome just got built.
in '75.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's you got Lafitte with the swamp right there. It's just a great location that to grow up now. Unfortunately now, since Katrina, it just looks totally different.
right,
I
right.
don't have the vibe that I did when I was a
Now,
kid. It's just
well, you
different.
talk about the sounds and the sights and the smells too. And if you were in Old Gretna, what was that smell you'd smell around there if you went around Fifth Street? You know what I'm talking about?
Be Hebe's Bakery.
And where was that at?
That was 5th Street and Bell Chase Highway. What is it when it crosses over?
Lafayette Street.
Lafayette Street.
And what
Lafayette,
city is that in?
Gretna, Louisiana.
You better believe it, baby.
How's your mama and them?
I saved that one for you.
Do you remember the bread originally that they sold out of Hebe's Bakery?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, the bread that they sold out of Hebe's Bakery was the sponsor for Shaw's American Legion team in the late '70s. Tasty bread.
No, I knew Conmaco, but I didn't know before that.
They were tasty bread before Conmaco.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And that my neighbor down the street, Mr. Wesley Boudreau, used to work for Tasty.
I'll be darned. Okay.
Right. So that was the bread that we ate. And then when bunny bread came out, everybody started eating bunny because Tasty went away.
Well, we got to talk about something serious back in the day is Schwegmann's grocery store. Because brother, we had Schwegmann's bread, Schwegmann's mayonnaise, and when I was a kid, I could put Schwegmann mayonnaise between two pieces of bread and I'd be good because that's
Yep.
some good stuff.
It's amazing what he did with that chain, but unfortunately he bit off too much in buying the superstore and all of that.
Right, right.
But I
But
mean,
man, it was like a
Schwegmann's,
modern day Walmart, but you
it
had
was.
a fish and tackle and hunting shop there too.
I used to love going in there
You had the bar room outside of the grocery store, which was at the Schwegmann's in Harvey.
to get your highball or
Get
beer.
your highball and Schwegmann's beer, Schwegmann's bourbon, because when my grandfather passed away on my dad's side, he passed in 1983 on Maple Street. We cleaned out his house. Man, we cleaned out more Schwegmann's beer cans and Schwegmann's whiskey. Schwegmann's whiskey.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with K&B.
Yeah.
I'll never forget coming back from the LSU game. My neighbor, I went to the LSU game. I come back. He's still out listening to the post game on the radio, and he's got K&B beer, drinking his K&B beer out there. Probably only 50 cents a can back then.
Man, that was some of the best ice cream, though. You can bet your ass on that. Man,
Definitely, definitely.
good stuff.
Yep,
And that's where you bought all your Mardi Gras stuff from, man, was the K&B, baby.
yep.
You remember that stands for, right?
Cats and Best Off.
You got it.
Yep. Two Jewish guys.
Oh, it was? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cats and Best Off.
Were they from the New Orleans area? Do you know? Or
I think so, but they had them all the way. They had them in Houma. They had them in Mobile, Alabama.
okay.
But to me, that and the Woolsworth right next to the
Yeah.
Guarantee Bank or the First National Bank back in the day.
Right.
I love going to Woolsworth and get a club sandwich.
Yep. And they had Woolco.
Yep.
And
Woolco.
they had man, what was that? The place my mother used to love to go, man. Stump's Luncherette.
Yep.
At
Yep.
Stump's Shopping Center. And the Maison Blanche that was over there.
Yep.
Because, man, we used to run around them things outside Maison Blanche by that area, by the A&G cafeteria.
You remember the Maison Blanche sign, like on the, right in front of their parking lot? It had a big MB on it.
The big MB, yep.
Well, right below that, there used to be a trailer right there.
Okay.
Every year, and I got him upstairs in my son's closet in the room. My mom, that's where she would take me to get my yearly picture with my little fake birthday cake. And it was a little trailer. And that's every year until I was, that was so long ago, most of them were in black and white. But then she started bringing me there because I'd get school pictures.
Yeah.
At Maison Blanche, I remember they had these dinosaur kind of animals kind of on the side.
Okay.
Maison Blanche with the other stores. And I can't remember a lot of the other stores.
Yeah, Casey Jones. Casey Jones was over there.
Yeah.
Because my grandparents loved to go shopping there.
Yep.
And everybody went there. And Mark Colley's wife, Carolyn.
Yep.
Her mother, Miss Camille, worked at Casey Jones for years and years, man. Wonderful lady. Wonderful lady. Some of those other places we had in the West Bank, Oakwood Mall back then, which I think is still going to this day. But, man, back then, that was the place to be.
Oh, yeah.
With Sears and, all the other places they had up in there. And, man, that was just that was a great place when we were in high school and all that,
I used to go take drum lessons at Whirlines right there.
Oh, okay.
And I never learned anything because I never did. I could beat on drums, but it don't mean nothing. But
so we might have to pull you up on stage, is what you're saying, with Bayou Junction?
And then remember, like right where you came out of Sears, right when you came out of Sears, if you went straight, you hit Whirlines, but there was a little luncheonette area where you.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when they had that Orange Julius there, and
oh yeah.
When I was in high school, I had the greatest job ever. All my buddies used to come see me, man. I was a stock boy at the Limited. Man, that was the greatest job ever. They had all the bad mamma jammas coming in there, man. All the freaky deakies were coming there. And I'm
Oh,
half colorblind. They're like, Jay, how's this look? I went, oh, it looks good. And
that's
I don't think my girlfriend at the time liked it.
probably
Man, what a fun place though. We had a lot of good times, over there. And you know what thing I just thought about is Schwegmann used to have all those pinball machines. Remember that?
Yep, I do. Yep.
Because that's where when my mom and them would go shopping, and we'd be playing pinball machines, and she wanted me to play pinball so we can go hang out with my grandfather, my
Right.
grandpa Tom, sitting at the damn bar,
Right.
kicking them back.
I remember too, because everybody used to go pay their bills, their electric bill, their
Oh
gas
yeah,
bill, and cash their checks there.
yep,
On Fridays, the line would be outside. People cashing their checks.
yep. What do you remember about some of the restaurants when we were kids? And I know the number one place you're probably going to say, or top one or two, but some of the restaurants back in the day when we were younger, But
Right. Well,
what's one of the biggest ones that comes to mind to you?
mine was the log cabin. My
Oh
uncle
hell yeah,
owned it.
hell yeah.
Basically, I would walk in there and I could just go in the back and tell the cooks, "Hey, I want a sirloin steak, I want a ham steak, I want a roast beef," and they knew to cook it for me.
Right.
And they loved me. Hey, baby, what you want to eat? Oh, and they cook it up for me. But we used to go there Friday nights, and my
Oh yeah.
my mom and dad, my uncle Norman and Aunt Mary, they'd sit there and just drink beer and BS all night
Oh yeah.
while I would be running around. I'd get behind the bar. I'd open up the drinks for orders. I couldn't, of course, open up beer because I was too
Right,
young.
right.
I would wash the glasses, and it was
Remember going
fun,
to the restroom, you had to step up
Yep, you
and
had
the
to
men went to
go
the
up the
right and the
ground.
ladies went to the
Yep,
left.
yep. That was, of course, being my uncle's place and had the run of it. But man, now I guess Schnell's was back in the day, the original Schnell's on 4th Street. Where else? You know a place I've never eaten at in my life in
But
Avondale? Moscas.
you know what, dude? That makes two of us. I've never been there before.
I've never eaten there.
Well, I was thinking of
I heard
another place called. Go ahead.
I heard it's fantastic.
I've heard it from many people, and I can't believe to this day. I think Becky and I were talking about my wife Becky and I were talking about this a year or two ago, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I have never been there before.
Right.
But one of the main places I was talking about, but I'm gonna go back for a second before I say this. Man, we had some great times at the log cabin, and even when it was Schnell's, because that was a treat to go there, man. And you
Oh yeah.
always knew people when you went in, so it was always a fun time, especially being a kid at that age and to see uncles and friends' parents.
Oh yeah.
Always a great time, man. And a little more higher class step up was Visco's.
This goes. Yep.
We used to, and what was the room they had with the oysters and all that? I can't remember what
They
they
call
called
it
it.
the steam room.
The steam room. That's it. I couldn't remember. And it would be so weird going over there as the rugby pub, which has been for years now, and knowing that it was Visco's and the things we did when we were kids, when I was a kid growing there. And what other place? They real fancy one. LaRoots and Algiers, Old
Yep.
Gretna Algiers area on Franklin.
Yep.
You know.
The rabbit's still there.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man.
There forever.
My grandmother, my mom and my grandmother would go looking for my grandfather in the ballrooms over at the rabbit every night, and they had that little peephole,
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I think where the old Gretna mafiosos used to hang out, all
I
that.
think they used to have back in the day. They had machines there, slot
Yeah,
machines, way
yeah.
back in the day.
No windows and concrete, those cinder block walls, man.
I'm trying to think of man. I dated a girl back on Cregan Avenue behind Visco's.
Okay.
Our go-to spot was Taco Tico.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah, yep.
I
Right by
loved it.
Visco's. Yep. That little plaza area,
Yeah,
right by around St. Cletus, right around that area.
right. But what's the bar that everybody used to go to? I was gonna say the Roaring Twenties, but that's on Terry Parkway. They had the bar in the back, in the corner, and it was mostly these 30s, 40s, 50s crowd. God, I can't remember
Man,
the
it's
name.
on the tip of my tongue. I'm thinking about it. I know they had boomers down.
The Fat Cat.
The what?
The Fat
The
Cat.
Fat Cat.
I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. The Fat
Dude,
Cat.
they had some places, man. They had boomers down the hatch. I ain't gonna say what they called it.
Right. But then when we were younger, you had Gatsby's, the Round
Gatsby's,
Table,
hell yeah.
uh, Ziegfeld's.
Ziegfeld's when we got a little older. And
Yeah.
what they call Mike Starr used to say it real good. He go zigga 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 zigga.
Yeah, that's from them from that commercial. Zig zig zig
Yep.
Ziegfeld. Yeah.
They used to have what was the little disco place that the teenagers went to? I think at Terrytown, Big Mo's or something like that.
I can't remember that because I
Yeah,
never went.
but we used to when we were younger though. We used to go to Skate Country in Terrytown, and then we also went to Skate Land in West Wego.
See, and I never went to any of that crap because I never learned how to roller skate.
Oh, dude, yeah, we look like the old ice hockey players, man, on skates. We'd be slamming, banging each other. We'd be in the penalty box more than we'd be skating, you know.
My mama got me skates,
Get your
dude.
ass
I
over
went to
there.
the sidewalk a couple of times. After 2 bloody elbows, 2 bloody knees, I'm like, throw this shit in the garbage can. This ain't for me.
We only went because the girls were there, man.
Well, right.
But yeah, they had some of those, but they used to have dances at the fire stations sometimes because we
Right.
used to go to the one because my grandfather, not the one on Durbany Street, the one on Maple Street, he lived right across the street from the fire station. And I actually had a aunt that had a wedding reception there back in the early 70s. But we went to a couple there. They had the Fireman's Hall in West Wego. You know, a couple other places. You know, so just good times, man. Good stuff back then, man.
It was great growing up, you know. And then, you know, I could never. My cousin was getting married, and I started drinking beer. We had a camp back at Tall Paper Canal in West Wego, and my dad drank Falstaff, and he would always give me that last swallow when I was like 5, and he'd give me that last swallow, you know. So then when we had our camp in Lafitte with my Uncle Norman, we'd go there, and I was like in 7th and 8th grade. He'd let me have a couple little small ponies, you know.
Right, right.
And then in 8th grade, I think I was in 8th grade at the time, and my cousin was getting married, and me and my mom was going to reception. It was in Luling at a VFW hall, and we was going there, and I said, "Hey, Mom, can I have a couple of beers tonight?" "Yeah, I don't care, just don't get drunk." I'm like, "All right." So we get there, and I go get me a draft, and her brother, my Uncle Buddy's there. "Hey, boy, what you doing getting a beer? Who's that for?" I said, "It's for me." "Go tell your mom." I said, "Well, go tell her." She said it was all right. I could have a couple. And they were cool about that, you know.
Yeah.
As long as, and they said, "Hey, if you get drunk, that's on you. You got to pay the consequences."
Right,
You know.
right.
And I'll never forget. We had a Christmas party at the house. My mom drank vodka, and she was cleaning the house that next day. I said, "Hey, Mom, what does that vodka taste like?" She grabbed the bottle, poured me some. "Here, taste it." I was probably about 10. I don't drink vodka, dude, just because of that.
I can tell you, man, my mother was just the opposite, man. She didn't like any of that crap. But both my parents grew up with both my grandfathers who I worshipped when I was a kid, but they were different cats when my mom and dad were growing up. They were serious alcoholics, you know, so
Right.
they had some rough times. But, you know, both of them, one of them semi got straightened out. The other one definitely got straightened out. But they were wonderful to me. So, you know, props to them for getting it right. But yeah, man, we used to go to the Moulin Rouge. I know you remember that name, you know.
Right across from the freaking log cabin.
That's it. We had a couple of tapped out 7-Ups there, man.
Did you used to go to the Scorpio?
No, I didn't go there.
Down the street,
What's that?
the Scorpio Lounge.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
When y'all went high school, because I know we went a lot after high school, but right after high school, did you guys go downtown to Amelius's and La Boucherie and all that stuff, or?
Macy's was our hangout.
Oh yeah, us too, big time.
You know, a funny story. I think I told you this yesterday. You know, being from New Orleans, you don't go out until like 10:30.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Dad come from the country, and I'm leaving one night about 10:30, 11 o'clock. He says, "Hey, boy, where you going?" I said, "I'm going out." He says, "Boy, it's time to go to bed." I said, no. I said, he says, why y'all don't go out early? I said, Dad, where we go out, nobody's there until like 11, 12 midnight. And there was times we went to Milius's at 11. There ain't nobody there. So we walk up Conti Street and go to Pateau's, stay there for an hour,
Right.
and then go back. And of course, you can't bring a hurricane or whatever drink you drink, and you can't bring it in that establishment. So you always had to put your
Right.
drink on that window ledge. And
Right.
all the winos used to come and grab them and
Right.
drink them.
Right.
Yeah. And but yeah, Milius's. We didn't go to La Boucherie too much because that was more like a discotheque.
Yeah. You had
But
to
we
go up
used
the
to go
stairs to go to La Boucherie, if I remember right.
right,
Yeah.
right. Same thing at Milius's. And then I used to drink the house special. It was like a real bubble gum.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it had a sign, limit 2 per customer. And I used to drink like 4 of them.
Whew. Man, Greg Stahl and I used to drink at the Long Island Teas, man. We go out to Frank's Wharf. Remember Frank's Wharf?
Yeah.
We call those things junkyard dog teas, man.
Did y'all go out? I used to go to Bart's a lot on Sundays.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sunday, go to Bart's. Yep, man, that was a
Yeah.
cool place. I enjoyed that. We used to go hang out at the lakefront on Sundays a lot.
Yeah.
Back when you could hang out at the lakefront, park out there, and everybody have their music playing. And
Watch
man, if y'all haven't seen it, what's that?
Watch the submarine races at night with your girlfriend.
Yes, indeed. And they would have they have an old YouTube video of Lake Pontchartrain, I think in the late '70s, and it's a silent film that somebody posted on YouTube. And man, I tell you what, you talk stepping back in time, a little nostalgia. Everybody with the trunk open, with the music playing, and the shorts and the tank tops and the, just cool stuff, man. Cool stuff.
We used to like go out Fridays and Saturdays, maybe to the quarter.
Right.
And then what we would do on Sundays, we'd go by Joe DeMarco's store, the time clock on the expressway, and get a half a keg or a full keg and bring the keg out to the lakefront and drink that all day on a Sunday.
Well, you know what we do Saturday nights? We would go probably, this is just a stereotypical Saturday night for us. And I'll throw the names out there. I'm not going to protect the guilty. It's, Greg Stahl, Mike Stahl, Phil Wagner, Brother Phil, Kevin Prestonberg, Mike Willett, all that. Sonny Martin, Big Sonny, Big Ed, and us, man. We go out. Darren Vincent.
Right there, dog.
Yeah, we'd all go out. Mike Toops, Big Mike, one of the best running backs ever in Shaw history, man. Great dude. And we'd all go out to Mike Gispert. We'd all go out to Milius's. We go hit the La Boucherie a little bit, and then on the way back, we'd stop somewhere on the West Bank, go there, and then we'd probably end up getting an oyster loaf over at Schnell's.
Dude, to me, the best po' boys back. Well, I don't even know if Danny and Clyde's probably had the best overstuffed po' boys. Man,
hey, preach.
We just didn't know how good we had it to where we could jump in our car, go 5 minutes down the road, and get an awesome po' boy. And then we live in here, and you can't even find the good bread.
You can't even find French bread.
Nah.
Jerry from our band, she found a place that has good French bread. So I'm gonna have to tell Jerry to turn you on to that. What we say about Jerry? Eric Line 1.
Eric Line 1. Come get it, Eric.
Coach Eric. Man, I was thinking about something when you said po' boy a minute ago, and especially, Buck's root beer. But man, I was thinking about something when you said po' boy, and I lost my train of thought though from laughing. And I'll remember it in a little bit.
Well, we could have a Barks with Hap.
Man, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this for Mike Stahl, for big Robbie Teddy Bear Sanchez. calling into Hap's Point after, calling us up to tell us he's gonna do it, and then he calls into the show, Buddy D's show, Buddy DiLiberto's show. Hey, I got Robbie from Algiers on line 3. Hey, Hap, what's going on?
Then Buddy called him a squirrel.
Yeah, we got this squirrel from Algiers on it. No, come on, Hap. What are you talking about, Hap?
That was priceless.
Then he hang up the phone. He called us back. Hey, Brian, y'all heard me talking to Buddy D.
The thing about it was, me and my buddy Will was heading back on the game when he called, and we were going up the bridge, going back to the West Bank. We were still on the East Bank. And we just started cracking up when he. And at the time, I didn't know that was Robbie.
Dude, we would listen to his show just to hear Buddy D go, if it's Robbie from Algiers, you know. And then Robbie would try to trick him up and say, it's Robert from Marrero or something. You know,
Oh my
hey,
God.
I didn't like it. The name of the show was The Point After
That's point
with
after.
Buddy DiLiberto, but the Saints were horrible. And
They
so
were,
Buddy D started calling it, What's the Point After?
yeah.
And Robbie Sanchez would do that, man. Big Teddy Bear Sanchez. And, man, he would have us dying laughing, man.
Remember Buddy D had I used to watch every I think it came on Mondays after the Saints lost from the press box.
From the press box with Buddy D. Yep. Dude, that was a
And
show to watch.
you could get a long what was them watches? Long Gene Whitnauer
Long
watch.
Gene Whitnauer. Yep.
If you were the special guest of the show.
Yep. They probably have Rosenberg commercials.
Yep.
What 1825 Tulane.
That maybe Al Scramuzza, Seafood City.
Oh man, I love that guy. He just passed away, I think, recently, man.
He did. He just passed away last month.
That dude had the funniest commercials of all times, man. Al Scramuzza Seafood.
Yep.
Oh my God! If you want to see some comedy, YouTube Scramuzza Seafood. Oh my God, that guy. And,
or we can tell
the
him
special man.
Special man.
The special man. I just
I
claimed bankruptcy.
I say.
Dude, my grandmother and them, and Greg and Mike's grandmother, Marlou, and their Aunt Pearl, they would see that guy going, I say, you say, I say. They would roll on the floor laughing, dude.
And he'd do that little shuffle with his
Oh,
feet.
yeah, down the aisleway. Let her have it.
old Fred looking Sanford. Let her have it. Got that big old stogie.
Oh, dude, if you could have seen Marlou and Aunt Pearl they would see that guy and they would just start, like leg slapping laughing, dude. Just
I know.
crack it up laughing.
You remember the Miller the Killer commercials?
Miller the Killer. Yep.
He kills them all.
He kills them all.
Yep. They had some very unique commercials.
They had some cats back then, man. They sure as heck did. And yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So when we were in high school and all that, they had some of the bands around there was Zebra. I know that they were real popular because, man, Phil Wagner was the president of the Zebra fan club, dude. We gonna see Zebra, bro. Y'all gotta come see Zebra, bro.
My band. We used to go, me, Vic Richard, Scott Emard. We used to go see the Sheiks.
Okay.
I got a lot of that music downloaded to my iTunes. I got my buddy Kip O'Connor gave me some. He was a big him. It was Kip O'Connor. They all followed the Sheiks big time back then, and they gave me some CDs with like some live stuff that they did way back in the 70s and 80s, and I copied it to my iTunes, and I still listen to it. Phil Callaghan was another guy that used to follow him, and they actually still to this day, Michael O'Hara, the lead singer, still performs on the Westbank.
Cool.
Or in the New Orleans area.
Man, I can tell you, I used to go watch my uncle play music sometimes. He played at Sydney's on Barataria. Sydney's what was Sydney's Cafe? What was the name of it? I can't remember. Sydney's something.
They sponsored our softball team a couple of times.
Yeah.
It was Sydney's Bar and Grill,
something like that. But I was Campo play music out there, and my uncle Al Grunch was a big time baseball player. Just these guys knew everybody on the West Bank, and it was cool having uncles like that. And what else? Some of the let's talk about Mardi Gras back then, dude. You talk about some fun,
dude. I was lucky. My mom always got me into everything, and I got to ride in Poseidon that used to go on 4th Street.
Poseidon.
I think I was in 3rd grade. I rode in a convertible.
Celebrity.
Back then they had the junior dukes and I was a junior duke, and we rode in a convertible. Then my cousin Charla became a maid, and I was her duke, and we rode on a float in '82 together. But I used to ride on a regular float in Poseidon, and then I got into Ala with John Beninati and Paul Eamon and all. And Paul used to ride on my float. I was a float lieutenant for Ala.
Okay.
And my Nick Nickel, who passed away, he was my sergeant. And then when I moved to Texas, Paul Eamon took over my float. He was float lieutenant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul Eamon, new Mr. Mardi Gras, brother. I love Paul, man. That's just good people there.
Playing curtain, bro. Uh, but riding was fun. But a lot of people from out of town don't know that when you ride in these parades, like now, shoot, the dues is like $700 just to ride on a float. Then you got to buy your throws, which I used to spend. I knew so many people, I'd spend like $1,300.
Yeah.
And then you get off the float. You've been on there for 12 hours maybe since that morning in the parade. You're getting off, and it's like, man, I could have went on a 7-day cruise.
You got that right. But man, the Mardi Gras when we were kids though, and because I can remember it would kick off in Old Gretna with Cleopatra on Friday night,
Right.
the all ladies parade, and it used to go down all on Old Gretna on Durbany Street, right in front of my grandparents' house, which was phenomenal because Macalusa's bar across the street used to have the music going and everything.
Yeah.
Then if you went down on Huey Long, man, what was the High Roller Stag Bar, baby?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the parade, and they'd have the flatbed truck out there with bands playing. I mean, you talk about some fun stuff. And
awesome when the Grella, Nefertari.
Well, Choctaw was on that Saturday, remember?
Yeah.
And it always rained. I remember that. And Alla was on Sunday in Old Algiers. I'm talking about Opelousas Street and all that,
Yeah.
Then the next weekend was
parade Algiers back then.
Yeah, I think the next weekend was Nefertari.
They rode on Thursday night, I think.
Thursday or Friday, I don't remember.
Well, they moved it to a Friday, but originally I think they rode on a Thursday. But
okay. And then Saturday was that Saturday and Sunday, it can't be beat. Saturday was Grella and Old Gretna. That was the big day. And then whatever you had left in the tank was the longest parade on the West Bank, brother, with Poseidon. And I mean, we didn't even need to go in New Orleans for parades back then. We didn't need to go. There was just, you had so much fun and everything was there, and it was a lot of families and
family oriented.
Yeah, like I said, being kids and your teenage years and all that, for those, man, that was just awesome memories, man.
That
Just
was
so much
awesome.
fun.
I was fortunate. I mean, this lady who had me from Oklahoma, I could have went anywhere,
Right.
And man, she had told me the first time I talked to her, she says, "Oh, I took you to Mardi Gras." So she was pregnant when she had.
Okay.
I was in her belly, and I said, "Well, I've probably been to every one ever since." And my kids are the same way. They got to ride. JC's gotten to ride on an Alla on the King's float twice, and then Kyle got to ride when Paul was king. The year after Katrina, JC and Kyle rode on Paul's float.
Okay.
When he came, so they know how it is to ride. But then me and my first wife used to take them all the time to the parades. So they hadn't been to New Orleans parades like in a long time.
Nice.
And we went 2 years ago, and it was just like, man, fighting people for beads and stuff. I'm like, man, my kids still got it,
Yeah, right on. Well, you remember, Tommy Schaff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Tommy was king of Alla, Seth rode on the King's float, my youngest son. So that was cool. I rode on a float with a bunch of my buddies, and I don't remember a whole lot at the end of that parade. Seth called Becky to come get us, and boy, I was like Ralph Cramden.
I never forget, we got off the float one time, and I was actually sober, and my buddy Nick Nickel they got a barricade, and he's sitting in front of the barricade talking to the barricade. I said, "Bro, who you talking to?" Talking to this barricade right here. He was 3 sheets to the wind, man. But we had some good times.
We rode in Toth for a few years with Truck. Truck got us in Toth at Prestonburg's crew. And man, what a great time that was. This was, years after we graduated. We were in our 20s and 30s. But man, we had like an Archbishop Shaw alumni float. The Bainsfather brothers were on there, Scott and Brian. And Scott would be up there on the float. He played quarterback. Scott's bombing people, throwing them like freaking Dan Marino. I remember one time we were at the parade. I didn't ride. I was with Wagner, with Phil, and we see Scott Baines, and we're like, man, we better go duck, dude, because he's going to start. He's pounding people.
You can get
Wagner's calling them all kind of names.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, my friends knew not to get too close to the float. They had you way in the back.
Right, yeah, way in the back. Have your hands here, brother, because it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
One of my
Real
favorite
quick,
things to throw at the parades off the float is just the foam, the Nerf footballs, man. Because you can just point to people and throw them the whole time. That's the fun part of doing that. So
a good one for Paul Lehman. So he's on my float, and I think that year we rode on the raccoon float, the coon ass float,
oh
and
yeah, yeah, the
he was
registered
the
coon ass float,
guy.
right?
I was the second guy, and they had a lady. She had to be in her 50s. She's coming out with this big old platter of freshly cut king cake.
Whew.
And Lehman says, "Hey, see that lady over there? Watch this." And threw a whole bag of beans, and that king cake went everywhere. I said, "Dude, you're going to hell for that."
That would be. I'm not going to name any names, but that'd be a few guys in a float. They try to get people that had a big glass, a big drink or something. And
Well, one year we got rained out for Allah, and we rode on St. Patrick's Day.
okay.
I was on the MASH float. They had a MASH helicopter. So I was the last guy on the float on the right side. So you know where the Burger King is on Terry Parkway, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, the young kids and all used to congregate, but a guy that I used to work with at Bunny Bread, Frank Castro, his house was behind that Burger King. So they were there. So I used to buy them big old gross of beads, right? So it was funny. I look down the road over and there's people. And then here comes the float and it opens up. So they right there and I'm just bombing them. I'm bombing them. So we pass the Burger King and we keep going and I'm still throwing, just humming them. And I went, one more. And I grabbed another gross and I threw it as hard as I could. And it looked like slow motion. Well, Frank's, I don't know if it was his mother. It might have been his mother, this old lady. Everybody kind of got back into the middle street. That bag of beads was it looked like slow motion. Boom, boom. I hit in her head, bro. I knocked her out.
Man. Yeah.
Frank. So I see Frankie the next day at Bunny Bread. We working, and I'm like, hey, man. He's, bro, you knocked out my grandma.
Oh
I went,
man.
I said, man, I'm sorry. I said, is she okay? Oh, yeah, she's fine.
Well,
Poor
it
lady.
wasn't purpose. It wasn't
No,
purposely
it
done,
wasn't.
But Bain's father,
Somebody should have had the
Scott
balls to
Bain's
jump
father,
the front.
you think that's Dan Marino up on that float, brother? Humming that shit.
Yeah.
He was the one we looked out for. What side is Scotty Baines on, man?
Right? Yep.
But the Mardi Gras times, man, when we were kids, though, growing up in those areas, man, just so much fun with all our people and everything back then. Just fun stuff, man.
One of the things we used to tell the tractor drivers, remember they had the spare tractors in case one broke down?
Yeah, yeah.
You used to, hey, bro, you forgot your float. Oh, man.
Man, just crazy. Fun times, man. Fun times. Fun times. You know. So hey, let's transition back because I know we've been talking for a while. We could keep going on and on and on, man. But let's transition back as we kind of wrapping things up here. So I know you do a lot of things and all that, but talk to me about what you do when you want to just relax and unwind. What do you do?
Well, unfortunately, it's only like a couple of months, but I like to deer hunt. I got a lease about an hour and a half from here. I'm on it by myself.
Which I still need to go to.
Yeah, and I used to hunt with Victor Balbuena,
Okay.
center for the '87 Shaw State Championship Eagles. But anyway, he lives in Mandeville, so it's kind of a far ride and stuff. So they don't hunt up here no more. But I pay for the lease, and I like to be out there and be in a deer stand. When I go hunting, I'm in there from daylight to sunset.
Yep.
Only time I get out if I got to do the number 2. That's the only time I get out.
The number 2.
The number 2. Other than that, I love watching LSU sports. I still have season tickets. I don't go to all the games, but I still have LSU. I've been having LSU season tickets since '87.
Oh, you still got them?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And watching LSU baseball. I always used to tell my kids if LSU was playing badminton or ping pong, I'd probably watch or croquet. But I like working in my yard, cutting grass. Stuff like that.
Well, I can tell you, you got excuse me, you got some of the best sports memorabilia around your house, man. I love some of the stuff you got over there. Talk to us about that a little bit because I love seeing the things that you have over there.
I got into it. I guess the first thing I ever got, my first wife gave me a Saints helmet,
Okay.
my actual full size Saints helmet, and I went to on a Jim Morris show, and I got him to sign it, and I got Quinn Early and Steve Walsh.
Oh my.
I need to get some alcohol, take him off. But
One of
anyway,
the worst trades we ever did. We did
right.
some bad ones.
And I got into just collecting memorabilia. One of my claim of fames, I coached Ryan Clark from Shaw. He went to LSU, played won a Super Bowl with the
Yep.
Steelers. I coached Nacho Albergamo. Big
Nacho.
Notch. I coached him.
Dr. Nacho. Dr. Albagamo. Yep.
Not more, you go by Joe.
Yep.
But I coached him flag football.
Yep.
And
Hell of a guy. Yep.
yes. Anyway, when Ryan and them won the Super Bowl, I sent him a big old box of stuff. He signed a bunch of Steelers and LSU stuff for me.
Nice.
Nacho signed a couple of pictures for me. And then I started collecting mini helmets, and I just got so much crap. And I was joking with my kids the other day. I said, I bet just when I do die, I'm just going to be like putting this stuff on eBay, just like, I might have paid $50 for it, but you're going to, give me $2 for it.
If I'm still around, I'll contribute to the legacy, man. Now I know you're a big Archie Manning and Pistol Pete fan from back in the day, like I am. So you got anything with them?
A lot of LSU people don't like Archie because he went to Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
But I mean, dude, the dude's an icon. He gave his heart and soul to the city of New Orleans.
Without a doubt.
He's got a great family. They contribute to the community. Pete Maravich, man, he died way too young.
Yeah.
I can remember going to Shoetown, buying my $2 general admission tickets to go to the game in the Dome.
Yep.
And it was a pleasure just to watch him play live.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yep.
We saw him one time after a game, man. You thought we saw God.
Oh, yeah.
And I just what really amazed me is how tall he was. I didn't think he was as tall as he was, man. I think he was 6'5" or 6'6", man.
He was 6'5".
Yeah.
And then the only time I ever had season tickets to basketball was when Shaq. Still can't believe we didn't win the national championship. Chris Jackson, Shaq, Stanley Roberts, Vernell Singleton. CJ was the man.
Yeah.
That was another Pete Maravich right there almost.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, you give Dale Brown a team of superstars, good luck. But if you give him some also-rans and second stringers, he'll go to the Final Four.
Don Redden.
Yep, Don Redden. Yep, definitely remember that. But man, I remember those teams. He had Ethan Martin, Dwayne Scales, Rudy Macklin, Cookie Man,
Yep.
Greg Cook. And then Leonard Mitchell came around after that. Man, man, they had some players. I used to love their jerseys with the Louisiana State written in script with the stars on it, man. They kind of look like the old 76ers jerseys with Dr. J and Darryl Dawkins and all those guys.
I got a T-shirt like that.
Hell yeah. Dude, that's got to be nice.
They actually selling shirts. Remember in '80 they went to Philadelphia and it said I bought one. It said "Let's get silly in Philly," and it had the Tiger Duncan.
Is that when they went to the Final Four?
I don't know if they went to the Final Four that year. They might have.
It was either 79 or 80 they went, but they ended up playing Louisville with Darrell Griffin and all them, and they didn't win that game. But I think Macklin had got sick or hurt, and Dwayne Scales, something happened. I don't know what the story is. I knew Truck knew the story that happened, but I don't. Truck told me one time, but I don't remember.
I friended Rudy Macklin on Facebook, and I had bought a picture of him on eBay, and he's shooting in Kentucky, and I made a bunch of copies, and I sent him these copies, and he autographed every one that I sent him. I got one for a couple of friends, and I had him put, to Henry, to David, blah, blah, blah. And I gave them to my friends, and he was cool about autographing. And I told him, I said, you're one of my favorite, number 4.
He was a lot of our favorites, man. We love Rudy Macklin, man.
Yeah.
But didn't he end up playing for the Hawks, I think, right? Atlanta.
I think so.
Yeah. Kind of
He
took
didn't
that
play.
Pistol Pete route, LSU to Atlanta,
He didn't play long, but
No, but when he was at LSU, he was good. But those
oh, he
guys played 4 years of college back then for the most part.
from Louisville,
Who's that?
and he was from Louisville, Kentucky.
I didn't even realize that, man. I didn't
Yeah,
know that. I'll be damned. Huh.
unreal,
Okay. Well, dude, is there anything we missed talking about today?
man. I don't know about maybe the Stros.
Yeah, them Astros, man.
I'm about to go watch them now. They're a little scrappy team this year. Of course, pitching. Their pitching's actually been good, but now that they lost two starters, I think McCullers is pitching tonight, and he had an outstanding
He had a
performance.
great game last game. Yeah, he had a great game. Man, you
I'm about
remember
to
when
go.
we had the minor league team the one year, the New Orleans Pelicans? The
Yep,
baseball team. And
yep.
man, they played in that cavernous Superdome for a baseball game.
I remember.
That was almost as bad as a basketball game being in the Superdome, man.
Yep,
But we had them 1 year. They were AAA affiliate for the St.
yep.
Louis Cardinals. I remember that.
Yep, yep.
And man, that was exciting times back then, And I think back
Oh,
then
yeah.
we had the Yankees games broadcast on the radio back home because Ron Guidry was a pitcher for the Yankees, and he was from Lafayette.
Well, my friend Eddie Alomore, his dad was a big Yankees fan, and they came to the Superdome for exhibition games.
I was there. Reggie Crank won.
They played Toronto or something. I got pictures I took with my 35 millimeter Minolta back in the day.
Yeah, but Reggie Crank won in that exhibition game. I remember that.
Yeah.
Man, when Reggie came up to bat, that was must see TV. That big swing.
Oh, yeah.
So look, brother, did we miss anything, or are we all good? I think we covered a lot of stuff. There's a lot more we could cover, but we covered a lot.
Well, it was good talking to you, man.
Oh, man, likewise. Look, I want to thank you for being a guest here in the podcast, brother. It was awesome. We really appreciate, sharing your experiences with everything. This has just been fantastic. I knew it would go good. I love talking about the old, back in the day and all the nostalgia stuff. But, we're going to say, as I say at the end of all of them, please don't forget to subscribe and follow us, depending what venue you're watching. I have a YouTube page. YouTube channel, the Facebook page. We're on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We're getting big time, Troy. Look out now. And it's always entertaining. And as a good friend that, Troy and I know, Kevin Pressenberg would always say, if it's free, it's me. It's always free to follow and to subscribe. And with that, we want to say we'll see you on the flip side for the next episode of In the Pocket with Jay Boat.
I'm going to come pick up my Longines Wittenhauer watch this week.
And we got a squirrel from Algiers online, too. We'll see y'all. Thanks, brother.